Are you trying to buy and sell your house at the same time and you're losing your mind? Well, guess what? You're not alone, and I'm here to help. There are people just like you that buy and sell their house at the same time every single week. And in this video, I'll break down the exact steps on how to do that. And I'll share with you some of the common pitfalls that happen when you buy and sell your house at the same time, so that you don't make those same mistakes when you're buying and selling your house at the same time. By the way, I'm Chad Scott, your local Kenosha realtor here. I get calls from people just like you every single week asking for help to buy and sell their properties. So if you need help buying or selling your house, give me a call at 262-331-1621. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have or help you buy or sell a house in the Kenosha-Racine area. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It tells YouTube that you like this content and pushes my videos out to more people so that they can like this video just like you do. Now let's jump into the content. The first step in the buying and selling process is assessing your financial situation. Can you afford to buy a new house without selling your house? Of course, that is the ideal situation. But if you're like most people where you have to sell your house before buying a new one, you have to decide which option is best for you. So the first step is talking to a lender and getting that pre-approval. Just like a buyer, just like you did when you bought your house originally, you have to go through the pre-approval process. Talk to the lender, find out your financial situation, and see which route is best for you. See how much house you can afford, first of all. See if you have to sell your house first or not. See if you need the equity from your house to buy a new house. See if that extra equity helps you buy a more expensive house. See if you have to go down in value of a house. See if you have to stay around the same price of a house that you're selling. I don't know. Every option's on the table. You never know what might happen. Discuss with your lender the option of maybe a bridge loan. So a bridge loan is like a temporary gap between mortgages. Now, the problem with the bridge loan is that you're carrying two mortgages. You're carrying the mortgage of your current home plus the mortgage of your new home. So if you don't sell your current home before the bridge loan payment is due, typically in 2 months, then you have to pay both your old mortgage and your new mortgage. So you're paying two mortgages at the same time. However, the positive of a bridge loan is that it allows you to keep your old house, plus you have money for the new house. So you're not having that home sale contingency when you're putting in offers for a new house. So you can buy the new house and then put the old house up for sale after you're already starting to move into your new house. So there are positives to a bridge loan, but there's also drawbacks if your old house doesn't sell right away. You may have to make a double payment for a month or two. If you have any questions about a bridge loan, shoot me a message. Drop it down here in the comments. I'd be happy to explain it more in depth to you or direct you to a lender that does bridge loans. Not every lender does a bridge loan, but there are quite a few, and they'd be happy to explain to you the pros and cons and everything in between bridge loans. You also have to understand closing costs. As a seller and a buyer, of course, there's closing costs that come when buying and selling a house. You know, there's the realtor fees, there's the title costs, there's the escrow funds, there's the mortgage payoff, there's the water bill, there's any other liens that you may have against the house. There's all those things that you have to consider when you're buying a house and selling the current house. So not only are you paying off your first, maybe second mortgage, but you have to consider all the other things that you have to pay in closing costs. Step number 2, you want to find yourself an experienced realtor. That's where I come in. I've done multiple sales several times. I've helped a lot of buyers buy and sell at the same time. You want to find yourself an experienced realtor that's done this lots of times. So you want to find an experienced realtor because there's a lot of moving parts in a buying and selling process. You have to coordinate timelines. You have to coordinate negotiations. So you have to coordinate your selling of your current property and the buying of your new property. Typically, you want to close on the same day so that you just move out of your old house and right into your new house. Maybe you can move out of your old house and then move into your new house like a couple days later or a couple days early maybe if the new house is vacant. It all depends on the situation. But you want to coordinate these timelines. You don't want to have any gaps in these timelines because that just makes it harder for you, makes it harder to coordinate movers, makes it harder to set up closings, makes it harder to transfer money. You'll make sure that all these things are coordinated and go off smoothly. Of course, the benefits of hiring a great realtor such as myself is that I manage all the paperwork for you. I manage all the timelines for you. I let you know where you have to be, when you have to be there. I manage all the negotiations for you. I let you know what's happening every single step of the way. I coordinate with you at least once a week, if not more often. I let you know what's going on. If you're a seller, of course you're a seller because you're buying and selling at the same time. I touch base with the buyer of your property. And when you're buying the new property, I touch base with the seller of the property. I make sure that everything's going according to plan. I touch base with your lender at least once a week, make sure that everything's going to plan, that there's no hiccups, unforeseen circumstances. You know, things do come up every now and then, but I like to try and head those off before they become a problem. And of course, you want to have an experienced realtor in your corner to help guide you through the process. And if there are any bumps on the road, an experienced realtor can help guide you through those bumps. If you do have to cancel a deal for whatever reason, say financing falls through, say the buyer on your house, they can't get financing for whatever reason, you want to have a realtor that has dealt with these problems before and knows how to pivot. Pivot! And just move on to the next buyer, or just throw your house back on the market and hopefully find a buyer really quickly. Because usually once you're under contract with your house, you start searching for your next house really fast. And typically once you start searching for your next house, you typically find one really fast. So you're under contract to buy a house. So if your current house falls out of contract, that could be a really big problem. So if it falls out of contract, you want to have a backup plan. And I always have a backup plan and a backup to a backup plan. So make sure that you hire an experienced realtor that has dealt with buy, sell multiple times and knows what they're doing. So step number 3 in the sell buy process, you want to list your current property. So of course this is the biggest step of the buy sell process. You need to list your property because this kind of sets the timelines for everything. Once your current house is under contract, that sets the timelines for your buying process, that sets the timelines for the selling process, that kind of sets the pace for everything. So once you know when your house is going to close, that kind of determines when you're going to buy your next house and how fast you want to close on the buying of your next house. So in order to get your house market ready, you want to stage it correctly. You want to make it as buyer friendly, make it as buyer friendly as possible, make it as unpersonalized as possible. I always tell my sellers, if you're living there, of course you got to keep your coffee maker there because everybody needs coffee in the morning. But typically you want to take your pictures off the wall so that buyers that walk through your house can see their pictures on the wall. Take any unnecessary furniture that you have in the house, like that chair you have in the corner that you never use anymore. Try and store that somewhere, either a storage unit maybe in the garage if you have space in the garage. Any unnecessary furniture that you don't use anymore, just try and store it somewhere. Just try and declutter their house as best as you can. Rent a storage unit someplace. Maybe get one of those pods and put that in the driveway. If you're selling your house, then buyers know that you're moving, so seeing a pod in the driveway is not that big of a deal. Ideally, get the pod though after pictures are taken of the house, because we don't want to have a pod in the driveway when we're having listing pictures taken. And you want to price your house competitively. So you want to sell your house quickly. So we start these timelines quickly. So you don't want to overprice your house. Of course, we want to get as much money as possible for your house, but we want to make sure that we price your house competitively. We want to price it comparable to what the houses are selling for in your area. We want to price it strategically compared to what other houses are selling for in your area. At least around what those houses are selling for. If your house is nicer than what houses are selling for in your area, then we can price it slightly above those houses, but not too much above those houses. If your house needs a little bit of work compared to those other houses, then we want to price it a little bit below those houses what they're selling for. If your house is about average compared to those other houses, then we want to price it, around what those other houses are selling for. We want to attract as many buyers as we can to come look at your house, get as many eyes as we can on your house, and try and sell it as quickly as possible so we can start the buy-sell process and start that timeline as quickly as possible. So some things that I still see some sellers do, but it's becoming a little less popular, are some sellers are still asking for rent-back agreements when they sell their house. It just gives them a little more time to move out of the house. So they're telling any prospective buyers that come buy their house that, we want to stay in the house for an extra month after you buy the house. Just gives us a little extra time to move out of the house, so that we're not rushing out of the house. I'm not seeing this as much anymore, just because we're kind of coming out of the sellers market a little bit. We're still in a really strong sellers market, so sellers still have the upper hand, but we're starting to come out of that sellers market just a tad bit. So buyers are starting to get a little more of an upper hand. We're not seeing as many buyers in the market right now. Come springtime, we may see more and more of these rent buybacks from sellers, from sellers. But we'll just see what happens in the springtime. You never know. So that's something to consider. Sometimes that turns off buyers because they don't want to wait to move into their new house. Sometimes buyers don't care because they've been looking for quite a while, and they'll wait an extra week or two or up to a month to move into their house. So it just depends on the buyer. But that's something that you can consider if you don't want to be rushed out of your house into your new house. Also, while we're looking at houses, if you have to sell your house to buy a new house, when we're making offers on houses, we're going to have to put in that home sale contingency in any offers that we put in. And right now, because we're still in such a strong seller's market, a lot of sellers, including you, when we're looking at offers, are going to see that home sale contingency, and a lot of sellers are going to pass that over. Unless you have a really strong offer that's like way above asking price, they may still take it. But a lot of sellers are looking over home sale contingency offers right now, just because for every home sale contingency offer, there's another 5 buyers that don't have that home sale contingency offer. So consider that when you're looking at houses. If you don't have to put that in your offer, that's even better. But I understand if you do. We all have to do what we have to do. But if you do have to put that home sale contingency in your offer, but if I can tell the agent, the home's already under contract, we have a closing date in mind, that makes your offer that much stronger. Or if you're comfortable putting an offer in and you already have a closing date in mind and that buyer looks really strong, you can't take the home sale contingency out of the offer. It gives you one less out of that offer. If your home doesn't close for whatever reason, you're still under contract to buy that new house. So it's a really risky thing to do that I don't advise my clients to do unless you are like closing the next day or something like that. But it is an option that you can do. So step number 4 is start your home search. Now this is something that you probably started way before even step number 1. But you want to start your home search because you don't want to be left without some place to live. Once your home sells, you want to have some place to go to, of course. So you got to start looking for another home to go to. So once your house is under contract, we want to start looking really seriously for another place to live. Start looking seriously for a new home to live in. Go browsing at homes, almost every day, if not every single day, and start proactively putting offers in on homes that you really like. If offers don't get accepted, that's fine. Just keep moving on and moving on to the next house that you like. Once your current house is under contract, you want to be really proactive at finding another house. Also, once your house is under contract, you want to find another house to buy right away, because that way you can align the closing dates as closely as possible. So that way you can just move out of your current house and right into the new house. You don't want to have too much of a lag time between closings, because then you might have to rent a hotel room or stay in a Motel 6 downtown or something like that for a couple days between closings, and living out of your car or living out of a moving van. Which isn't the end of the world, but nobody wants to live in a hotel room for a couple of days, especially if you're a family with 2 or 3 kids. Nobody wants to do that, but things happen, and sometimes you have to do things like that. So syncing your closing dates as closely as possible, that's where I come in. I try to do that as closely as possible. It's not always possible, but we try to get them as close as humanly possible. So finding your next house as soon as you can, as soon as you get your house under contract, is ideal, and that's the very next step. So during this time, I always tell my sellers and buyers, have a backup plan. So in case something happens, in case the home that you're buying falls through, and your house still sells, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go to? Are you going to stay in a hotel? Are you going to find a short-term rental? Are you going to stay with family? You have to have some kind of backup plan. My house is not big enough for most people to stay in here. And honestly, my wife would probably kill me if I start letting clients stay here at my house. So you have to have some kind of backup plan. Are you going to stay at a hotel? Are you going to find a short-term rental? Which short-term rentals are really hard to find right now. There are some Airbnbs around the Kenosha racing area. But you have to have some kind of backup plan. Things do happen. Occasionally, your house is on track to sell, and the sale goes through without any problems. But something happens with your buying. You never know what happens. Maybe something comes up on your credit report that you didn't know was there, and all of a sudden the lender won't lend you the money. Maybe an unforeseen circumstance happens and you happen to lose your job or something. I don't know. Stuff just happens sometimes. Or maybe the seller gets cold feet and they pull the contract out from under you somehow. That's very rare, but I have seen it happen from time to time. So you have to make sure that you have some kind of backup plan just in case that happens. And just in case there's a lapse in time between the closing of your house and the buying of the next house. If there's like 2 or 3 days or even a week between those closings, you want to make sure that there's some place for you and your family to go between those closings if they don't happen on the same day. Make sure that you have some place to go. I don't want you sleeping in your car. I don't want you sleeping in the park. I don't want you sleeping in somebody's front lawn. I want you sleeping in a bed, someplace with a roof over your head, someplace nice and warm. So have some kind of contingency plan. I'll help you come up with a plan, but we have to come up with some kind of plan. Step number 5 in the buy-sell process is coordinating timelines. So you want to try and coordinate timelines. We talked about this a little bit ago. You want to try and coordinate timelines as closely as possible with the buying of your new house and the selling of your old house. So once you find that house that you're going to buy, coordinate the closing of that house with the selling of your house, of your old house. You want to try and coordinate those closings as closely as possible, ideally on the same day, but if it has to be a couple days later, then it has to be a couple days later. That's where that contingency plan comes into play. And that's where I come in to help. I do my very best to negotiate closings as best as I can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes buyers and sellers are just very stingent on their closing because of whatever reason. Maybe their lender is very stingent. They won't let them close on a certain day. Maybe as we get closer to closing date, their lender says, you know what, something came up, we have to move closing for whatever reason. Moving closing is always a headache, because if they have to move closing on, let's say, the sale of your house, then guess what? We have to move the closing on the buying of your house, of your new house too. And then if that seller is also buying a new house, they have to move the closing of the buying of their other house too. It just becomes this big domino effect. And it becomes more and more and more and more of a domino effect too if it just keeps going up and up and up and up or down the food chain too. So we try not to move closings if we don't have to, but it does happen every now and then. So we try and coordinate closings and times and dates and deadlines as best as we can, but things do happen every now and then. So that's my job. That's for me to worry about. That's not for you guys to worry about at all. So that's what I do behind the scenes. I worry about all that stuff, and I bring it to you if it becomes a problem and if you need to worry about it. So step number 6. Once you find that house that you want to buy, you want to put a strong offer on that house. So what is a strong offer? This is something I'll help you craft depending on the kind of market we're in. So right now we're in a strong seller's market still. So you want to put a strong offer on that house, especially if there's multiple offers right now. I'll find out for you if there's multiple offers or multiple people interested in the house. So if there's multiple offers on the house, then you might want to go at least at asking price, maybe a little bit above asking price, maybe a lot over asking price. I don't know. Depends on the house, depends on how much you love it. If it's only an okay house, you don't really love it, but it's something that you're kind of settling for just because you can't find anything else, then maybe go a little bit under asking price. It all depends on how much you love the house. I'm not buying the house. I'm not going to live there. So it's totally up to you on what you do with the house. In the offer, of course, we put all the normal contingencies in there. The inspection contingency, if you want it. If we're in a multiple offer situation, that is something that you can waive. If you are financing the house, we put the appraisal contingency in there, the financial contingency in there. If you want the radon test in there, we'll put that contingency in there. And then we'll have to put the home sale contingency in there if you're not doing a bridge loan or if you're not buying the house cash or anything like that. And then once you're under contract with your new home, I'll let your lender know that we found a house to buy and you're under contract, so that way your lender can start the paperwork on the new loan and get that started. Finally, step number 7, you close both transactions. We're finally to the finish line. The day we've all been waiting for, closing both transactions, closing the sale and buying the new house. This is where everything comes together or could fall apart. It hardly ever falls apart, but it could technically fall apart. But this is where I come in. I make sure that everything comes together and goes nice and smooth for you, and nothing happens on closing day the way that it should, the way that we want it to. We want everything to go the way that it should. We want it to go to plan, and no surprises on closing day. On closing day, I'll let you know where to be on closing day. Make sure that you bring your driver's license with you or a form of ID. It could be a passport, a state ID card, or a driver's license, because title will want to see that. If you're buying of course you're buying a house, you're going to want to bring any money that your lender tells you to bring to the closing table with you. It'll probably have to be in the form of like a cashier's check, or it could be a money order too, I believe. No, I don't think that title companies take money orders. It has to be like a cashier's check or a certified check from your bank. And we do the final walkthroughs on closing day too. Either closing day or a day or two before closing day. We walk through the house that you're buying. We make sure that it looks pretty much the same as the day that we first walked through it. You know, if they're currently living there, there may be a few new scuff marks on the floor or something like that, but there shouldn't be any like holes in the ceiling or holes in the wall. There shouldn't be, you know, leaks in the faucets or leaks from the roofs or anything like that. The house should be in pretty much the same shape as it was when we first walked through it, in broom swept condition. There shouldn't be like tumbleweeds blowing through the house, or pet hair all over the place, or crayon marks on the walls, or anything like that, unless we know about it ahead of time. So some common things to look out for when you're buying and selling a house at the same time are market conditions. What kind of market are we in? Are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? Obviously, if we're in a seller's market, your house will sell a lot faster, and it'll probably take you a little bit longer to buy a house. Now you'll probably still find a house to buy, but will it be your dream house? Will it be the house that you've always wanted? I don't know. There's new inventory every single day, so it could be. You just never know. It depends on how long it takes your house to sell and how long you're willing to look for. Now, if we're in a buyer's market, it may take your house a little longer to sell. It all depends on how we price it, the marketing that I do, and if the right buyer comes along at the right time. Now, finding your house, though, should be a lot easier because if we're in a buyer's market, there should be a surplus of inventory on the market. So it should be relatively easy for you to find your next house. If you're going to buy and sell at the same time, make sure they have a little bit of a financial buffer. Because when you're selling your house, you're probably going to have some repair requests for the new buyer of your house. They're probably going to do their home inspection. They're probably going to ask for things, you know, like loose railings. Maybe there's some shingles missing from your roof. Maybe your deck isn't secured to your house properly. Maybe there's some other safety issues, like some GFCI outlets in your kitchen aren't installed properly. Maybe some little things here and there that you have to fix. You know, hopefully it doesn't cost you a ton of money, but you never know. Maybe at the time of your inspection, your water heater isn't working and you need to replace that. You know, that's like $1,000 fix. So make sure you have a little bit of a buffer of cash. Plus, you have to pay for moving expenses. You know, a lot of people move themselves, but that's a big pain. I hate moving personally, so I would hire movers, and movers aren't really that cheap. So you gotta save, you know, $500 to like $1,500 for movers, especially if you're moving across the country. That gets even more expensive. So save a little bit of money for movers. Plus, if you're buying a house, you gotta have that money for closing costs. You gotta have that money for down payment. You gotta have that money for escrow money. So you gotta have a little bit of money in saving somewhere for buying and selling a house. There are costs with buying and selling a house. We touched on this before. Make sure that when you're selling your house, if you don't have to have that home sale contingency, then it's best to sell your house. It's best to buy a house without a home sale contingency, because it really helps you buy a house a lot easier and a lot faster. Just think about it from a seller's point of view. If you're looking at offers and they have a home sale contingency, you're thinking to yourself, well, they're not buying my house until they sell their house. How long could that take? Will it take a couple days? Will it take a couple weeks? Will it take a couple months? How long am I going to sit here and wait for them to sell their house? Now, you can continue to market and show your house while it's technically under contract with this home sale contingency. And if you get an offer without any contingencies, bump that first offer out of first place and take that new offer. But, you know, you're still under contract with this other offer that has a home sale contingency. And you're sitting there and you're waiting and you're wondering, when will they remove this home sale contingency so that we can actually start packing and start looking for a house? The home sale contingencies, you know, they protect the buyer, but as a seller, they're a little bit of a pain because they're an unknown. You don't know when they're going to buy your house. You don't know how long. So they're a good thing and a bad thing. So we talked a lot today about how to buy and sell a house. We talked about how to manage it, how to sync your timelines, what to do if there's a gap in the buying and selling process, how to hire a professional realtor like myself to help manage the whole process for you, how to talk to your lender, how to make sure you have enough money in savings to cover any unexpected expenses that may come up. If you guys have any questions about the buying and selling process, or any questions about buying or selling a home in general here in the Kenosha Racing area, please give me a call at 262-331-1621. I have buyers and sellers every week reaching out to me, asking me questions about the buying and selling process. I'm happy to help. I answer questions all the time to people just like you. So give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. All my contact information is also down below here in the video description. I can't wait to hear from you. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit that like button for me. It really encourages me to keep making videos just like this for you guys. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It encourages YouTube to keep pushing these videos out to more people just like you, so they're also informed about the Kenosha and Racing real estate market. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.